How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Chav Zayin, Daf 27 of Masechet Nedarim, friends. Interesting stuff today. We talk about Nidrei Onsin, Ones Neders, when like something happens beyond your control, kind of Neders. Get interested into some interesting sugyas, I'd say. So let's jump in over here, alright? We're going to start in Daf Chav Zayin Amud Aleph, about halfway through the Amud at the Mishnah. Oh, somebody's coming down the stairs. Wonder who it's going to be. Anyways, Nidrei Onsin. So it says the Mishnah halfway through the Amud on Daf Chav Zayin Amud Aleph. Nidrei Onsin, vows of onus. What are those? So Ediru Chaver Shiochel Etzlo. Oh, so a guy says to his friend, guy, person, dude, fellow, person, dude, man. Why don't you come over to my house, and eat dinner with me? And if you don't, you get any benefit from, me at all. And the guy's like, oh, alright, sounds like an offer I can't refuse. And then sure enough, what happens is the guy who was supposed to come over to eat, either he got sick or his son got sick or somehow he gets stuck by a river, whatever it is, something comes up that's beyond his control and he can't make it. So we say, this would be what's called Nidrei Onsin, some kind of like, I don't know, unforeseen circumstance type of vow, and it's permitted, right? Kilu, I don't know, let's find Reuben and Shimon, okay? So Reuben says to Shimon, come over and eat at my house, and if you don't come over and eat at my house, you can't get any benefit from me. And Shimon's like, okay, fine, but then for whatever reason, Shimon can't make it. He gets sick or whatever it is. So we say it's okay. Shimon can continue getting benefit from Reuben. The vow doesn't kick in. Okay. Now, says the Gemara, how Gavra, it was a fellow, so there was a guy, I guess it sounds like Bezdin wanted to make sure that he was going to show up in Bezdin. He wasn't a flight risk or anything like that. He wasn't going to run it off anywhere. So they say to him, look, come and bring, drop off a whole bunch of stuff, right? Meaning, you have a bunch of things that say that you're owed money. Why don't you relinquish those rights to us? And when you come to court, we'll give them back to you. And it says, so he gave the rights to these things that these monetary things, that instruments that he has. And the Omer says, and he says, look, if I don't come back to court in 30 days, they're yours. Okay. And sure enough, what happens? Isnis v'lo also. Something beyond his control came up, and he couldn't make it to Bezdin. And now it's shtikol chava, because he gave like all these, rights that he had to money. He gave them to the court. And he told the court, if I don't come back in 30 days, I'm relinquishing them. And he didn't come back in 30 days. Something came up. He couldn't control it, but at the end of the day, he didn't make it. So now, Ravuna batal zachvase. So Ravuna says, tough noogies. Ravuna says, look, man, you said, if I don't come back within 30 days, I'm relinquishing these things. He didn't come back within 30 days. As they say, tough noogies. Amar Rabba. So Rabba says to Ravuna, Anusu, what do you mean tough noogies? It was anus. Something came up beyond his control. There was nothing he could have done about that. We have a principle. Then a situation of onus. I don't know, what's a good definition of onus? I don't know, something beyond your control or something. Something came up. Onus achmana patre. Then a situation of onus, something beyond your control, you're potter for that. The Pasuk says, for the Nair the Saisa Dover. That it says by Nedarim also, that if she was raped against her will, so she's not chayav as misa, because it was onus. So onus achmana patre, you're potter when it comes to the situation of onus. So therefore, Rabba argues against Rafuna. He says, Rafuna, if the guy couldn't make it to Bezdin because something came up beyond his, beyond his abilities or whatever, beyond his control, so he shouldn't have to relinquish his rights to those financial things. So that's machlokas between Rafuna and Rabba. Rav Huna says tough nugis, and Rabbi says no, anus rachmana patre. Now, and if you're going to say, and if Rav Huna would respond to Rabbi and say, look, when we say anus rachmana patre, that's in a situation of Nedarim or also, right? That's in a situation where the question is she chayeves misa for the situation of rape? And we say definitely not, because she's not going to be chayeves misa because anus rachmana patre. But in a situation of mominus, in a situation where we're not talking about a chiyuv misa, such as over here when he's going to have to relinquish his rights to money. So there we would not say anus rachmana patre. Only in a capital case we say anus rachmana patre. So again, if we're going to say, look, we say anus rachmana patre in a capital case, but not in this case where we're just talking about relinquishing money. But that's not the case, because we learn in a Mishnah, in our Mishnah, nidre onsin. What's the situation of a vow of onus, or onus in the context of a vow? Hidiru chaveru shiochel etzlo, that if Reuven says to Shimon, you better come and eat at my house, and if not, you can't get any benefit from me. V'chalohu, and sure enough, Shimon gets sick, or shechalabno, or his son gets sick, or shekvono, and he can't make it because of a river, something happened with the river. Hare'elu nidre onsin, this is a nidre onsin, and so we're saying that because it was onus, the vow is waived. So we see that anus rachmana patre, even though it's not a capital case. So that's the question against Rav Huna, right? The Rav Huna is saying tough nugis, but shouldn't it be anus rachmana patre? As we see from our Mishnah, we say anus rachmana patre, even in a situation where it's not capital. So, okay, fine, that's the kasha on Rav Huna. Now, ula Rabba. Now, according to Rabbi, who says anus rachmana patre, but ma'ishna meha ditnan, why should this case with the guy relinquishing his stuff to Bezdin, so we're asking according to Rabbi, why should we say anus rachmana patre? Yet in the following case, right? We learned this at the beginning of Masech Ksubis, that a fellow says to his wife, if I don't come home within 12 months, so then you're going to be considered divorced from today. And sure enough, he ends up dying within the 12 months. So they're considered divorced. But menas isnis. But shouldn't we say divorce, right? Death is certainly the ultimate onus, the ultimate thing that's against your right, beyond your control. So shouldn't we say anus rachmana patre and say that it's not going to be a get, we're going to waive the get because of anus rachmana patre? So here we see it's a situation where it's not a capital case, and yet we're not saying anus rachmana patre, we're saying that they're going to be divorced. So Amrei Dilma Shani Yasmin is saying, yeah, maybe that's different over there. The Avayoda de mis lealter have a gomer view of Gita. What's the whole point? Why he's making this condition? How come in the first place he's saying to his wife, we learned this in the beginning of Masech Ksubis. How come in the first place he's giving this get to his wife and saying, if I don't come back in 12 months, you're divorced from today? Because he wants her to avoid a situation of Yibum. We learned Masech Yevamis. Yevamis is a very complicated thing. He didn't want that if something should happen to him, and he dies, so then she's gonna have to do Yibum with his brother. It's a mess. So he says, look, if I don't come back within 12 months, so you're divorced from today. But if he knew that he was gonna die, of course he would want the divorce to be a proper divorce, because the whole point is that to avoid Yibum. So therefore, maybe you could say that's why in that case of the get, we do not say anus rachmana patre, because Davka, we would want that if he dies, he would be divorced from today, so that you can avoid Yibum. So that's why we don't say apply anus rachmana patre. But ma'ishna me'ahu de amalu, but again, still Rabba. How come in the following case, how de amalu, that a fellow says to them, ilo asinu mikana ad tlos in yomin, that if I don't come home within the next 30 days, la avegita, so then this is going to be a get. Also, faski my bar, and then on day 30 he's coming home, and amalu chazuda asoy. And right, so he's on his way home, and there's a river blocking him, and he can't get home on time. And now he had said if he doesn't get home within 30 days, then they can be divorced. And now his mom is almost home, but now he's stuck by the river, and he's saying, "Look, chazuda asay, look, I'm here, I'm not divorced. Don't divorce me. I'm mamish right here." V'amr Shmuel says, "Shmuel lo shmei masya." It's not considered like he came home. Even though he's mamish right there and he's yelling and screaming and saying, look, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. It doesn't count. But amai, v'amenas onis. But shouldn't we say onus rachmana patri? So it's a kasha and Rabbah. If Rabbah says onus rachmana patri, how come we're not saying onus rachmana patri over here by the get? But Dilma onse de migali yoshani my bara migali onse. But maybe you could say, look, when we, this isn't really a onus, right? I mean, this is like an obvious kind of thing. He knows that there's a river. He should have taken into account that it might be day 30 and he might get stuck by this river. And therefore, because he was basically irresponsible, that's why we're not saying onus rachmana patri. But Rabbi would say that in the case of the guy who relinquishes his stuff to Bezdin and says, I'll be back in 30 days, and then something happens, maybe in that case, we would say onus rachmana patri. Now, Ulu Rav Huna, according to Rav Huna, who said tough nugis, why should it be tough nugis? Right? When the guy says that, I'm going to relinquish my stuff to Bezdin if I don't come back in 30 days, and then something happens beyond his control, Rav Huna says tough nugis, but why? No. Who could tell me what asmachta kanya is? Asmachta kanya is famously in the context of gambling. Right? In the context of gambling. That if I make a bet against you, that, a certain horse is going to win. So I make let's say a sports team. Let's say, where are we now? In November? What month are we in? Are we in November? I think we're in November. Yeah, we're definitely in November. So, the Super Bowl must be coming up at some point. Although I don't think yet. I think it's still early. But the Super Bowl must be coming up, and if my understanding is that in the Super Bowl, there's two teams. And one, I think, wins and one loses, I think. So if you make a bet, right, Ruvain makes a bet against Shimon, and he says, I'm betting $100 that one of the, team number one is gonna win. And it turns out team number two wins. How come he made the bet in the first place? He made the bet because he thought that team number one was really gonna win. He thought for sure team number one is better. Of course they're gonna win. When team number two wins and he loses, and now he's got to cough up that money, he's not doing it willingly, right? He wasn't really planning on paying this money. He thought his team was gonna win. And when it turns out that he loses the bet, he's being compelled to pay, even though he really wasn't planning on it. He really didn't want to be paying. So therefore, it's like a type of theft. And therefore, asmachta lo kanya. And here also. So Rav Huna, why are you saying tough nugis? When the guy when he said he's going to relinquish his stuff to Bezdin, if he doesn't come home, come back within 30 days, he definitely assumed that he was going to be back. And therefore, when you're forcing him to relinquish it because some honest kind of thing happened, shouldn't that be asmachta lo kanya? He assumed he was going to be back, and therefore he's not really relinquishing it to Bezdin. So v'asmachta lo kanya shayni ochad mitavzun zachvase. So we say, yeah, but maybe it's different over here because he already gave it up, right? So meaning when it comes to the Super Bowl bet, so I didn't yet pay anything, right? I made a bet with my friend and I said, look, $100 that my team is going to win. Now, nobody's paying any money yet, right? And when he loses, and his friend says, all right, pay up, and now he's being forced to open his wallet and pay the money that he wasn't really planning on paying. It's like he's being forced to pay this money, and it's like, he's being forced to pay this money, and it's like, yeah, so it doesn't work. We're going to say, asmachta lo kanya. But in this case, he had already relinquished the money, right? Bezdin says, look, give us these, give us the rights to this stuff, or give us these, documents or whatever it has that say that you're owed money, give it to us now, and we'll give it back when you come back to Bezdin. So because he had already, even though yes, he assumed he was going to make it back, but because he had already given over these items, so therefore we could say, even though he thought he was going to be back, still it would belong. He already gave it over to Bezdin, and Bezdin would be able to keep it. Fine. So if you're going to say asmachta lo kanya is like in the Super Bowl example, but not over here. But one second, just because he already gave it to Bezdin means that we don't apply the concept of asmachta lo kanya? But listen to this. What are they doing upstairs? But listen to this. V'atnan, We learn in the Mishnah, Misha para miktas chovo vehishlish eshtaro ve'omer me'in ani nosin lo mikan ad lamed yom tein lo shtaro. You hear this case? Very interesting case. Shimon borrows $1,000 from Reuven. Shimon then pays $500 to Reuven. Right, okay, so we've seen this before, right? So Reuven lends Shimon $1,000. Shimon pays back Reuven $500. So now here's the thing. Here's the question. Reuven has a document that says he's owed $1,000, but it's not really true anymore because he's already paid back $500. So now, what's preventing Reuven from coming to Beis Din with this document that says that he's owed $1,000 and make Shimon pay $1,000 even though he already paid $500 of it? So there's different things you can do. One would be for Reuven to write a receipt to Shimon that he received $500. Then Shimon holds on to the receipt, and if Reuven comes to claim the $1,000 in court, Shimon says, look, I have a receipt that says I already paid $500. I don't owe anything more than $500. That is one way to do it, but the challenge there is that then Shimon has to hold on to the receipt. And if he loses the receipt, so then, right, what if the mice come and eat the receipt? So that's the disadvantage of that. Another option that we've seen in the past is that, well, maybe you can rewrite tear up the document for $1,000 and rewrite a document for $500. And therefore, maximum, Reuven will pull out this document that he now has, which says he's owed $500, and he'll claim that. Okay? But this is a third option. The third option is you can get Levi involved. And you could say, Levi, look, here's the deal. Reuven's got this document that says that he's owed $1,000. The thing is, he already received $500 of it. So we don't want Reuven to hold on to the document because he might claim, in Beis Din, might claim the full $1,000. So we say, Levi, how about this? Can you, let's give you the document. And that way, since you, Levi, have the document, Reuven can't come to Beis Din and claim it because he doesn't have it. So he can't come and claim the full $1,000. You're the one who has it. But at the same time, you'll sort of be the one to represent, that you have this document because Reuven already received half of it, and Shimon's gonna have to still pay back Reuven the other half of it. So now, that being the case, let's read it again. So Mishapar Mitzas Chovo, so Shimon already paid back. Shimon already paid back $500 to Reuven. So Shimon already paid back $500 to Reuven. Vehishlish eshtaro, and then they give the document to Levi. They give the document to Levi, so that so they give the document to Levi, so that Reuven can't come and claim the $1,000 anymore because he doesn't have a document. Levi has a document. Ve'amar, and Shimon says, Im ein ani nosein lo mikan v'ad lamed yom, and Shimon says to Levi, if I don't pay back Reuven within the next 30 days. Tein lo shtaro. So then give back to Reuven this document. So here you have a situation where Shimon already relinquished the document to Levi. And he's saying, look, if I don't pay back within the next 30 days, so then give Reuven the document. Now, of course, he assumed that he was going to pay back within the 30 days. He gives man v'lo nosan, and if for whatever reason 30 days comes up and he hasn't yet paid back, Rabbi Yossi Omer Yiten. So Rabbi Yossi says that, okay, so you give the document to Reuven, because we'll say, Asmachta Kanya, that even though Shimon assumed that he was going to pay back the money within the 30 days, he didn't, and therefore Reuven gets it back. And, so Rabbi Yehuda Omer Lo Yiten, and Rabbi Yehuda says that do not give the document to Reuven because it's an asmachta, and asmachta lo kanya. V'Amar Rav Nachman, it says Rav Nachman, Amar Rav Barvua, Amar Rav, ein halacha Rabbi Yossi d'Amar asmachta kanya. So it says Rav Nachman in the name of Rav Barvua, in the name of Rav, that the halacha is not like Rabbi Yossi d'Amar asmachta kanya, i.e., we say asmachta lo Kanya. So we're saying that even though Shimon had already relinquished the document to Levi, still we're saying Asmachta lo Kanya. So how could therefore, how could Rav Huna be saying tough nuggies to this guy, right? Meaning this guy had already relinquished the stuff to Beis Din, and he says that I'm gonna come back within 30 days. He doesn't come back within 30 days, something happens, some kind of anus, and says Rav Huna tough nugis, but shouldn't we say asmachta lo kanya? And if you're going to say, well, yeah, but he already relinquished it, so what? Shimon, in the case of Shimon, Reuven, and Levi, right, Shimon had already relinquished the document to Levi, and still we're saying asmachta lo kanya when he can't make the payment. So therefore, fine. So shani yachad amar levatlan skuse. But still, Rav Huna could say it's different because if we look at the case of when he relinquishes his stuff to Bezdin, what does he say? Ilo asina ad tlasin yoman livatlan hanizach vasoi. He says if that's the case, then I'm being mevatel my zchus to these things. So because Yidavka says that he's being mevatel the zchus, so therefore we're going to say tough nugis. Vilchson halach is asmachta kanya, that asmachta taka is makes a kinyan. Vehudilo honest, that's as long as there was no ones. And as long as they made a kinyan in a significant bezin, a bezin that's able to make things hefker. Alright, fine. Alright. Well, friends, that was Daf Chav Zayin of Masechta Nedarim. I thought it was an interesting daf, right? Because we talked about ones. We saw this machlokas between Rabbah and Rav Huna about do we say Anus Rachmana Patre or not. So yeah, some super interesting stuff. Friends, that was Chav Zayin, Daf Chav Zayin of Masechta Nedarim. Hope you enjoyed. Peace out.